Falcha Akhirat. Welcome to the Imbolc 2011 edition of the NODCast. For the next episodes, we will be focusing on the history, culture, and religion of the Celts. I will start with an overview of the history of the Celts and then focus mainly on the Irish Celts. In order for me to do that, though, I need to first define what I mean by Celtic or Celts. All through history, there were different visions of the Celts, who they are, and what is considered to be Celtic. Just like the Indo-Europeans, there is nothing that is black and white about the subject. I want to start with the Greco-Roman vision. The Celts came onto the historical scene via a reference from the Greeks in 500 BCE. There were two schools of thought on them. The first thinks of them as barbarians who were savages, prone to boasting, feasting, drinking to excess, and the second sees them as the noble savage, with a class of philosophers and thinkers. Then for a time they were forgotten by the world, until the classical writings were rediscovered, and a wave of Celtomania and nationalism developed from the 1700s to 1870s BCE. This wave romanticized the Celts and propagated a lot of the myths that are still prevailing today, like the Druids built Stonehenge and that the Druids were nature-loving philosophers who wear white robes and have long beards. And then, of course, there is the reality of the Celts, the one that we can piece together from sources like archaeology, vernacular records, the writings of the classical world, and the evidence of place names and language. All these together give us an accurate, if incomplete, picture of who the Celts were and are, and what is considered Celtic. So here is my definition of who the Celts were and are, and it is a definition that most scholars nowadays agree on. Celt is one who lives in a community where a Celtic language is used traditionally, or one who has strong ties to such a community. Celtic, anything relating to the identity and traditions of such communities. So let me say this up front. The Celts were not a race of people. They were diverse and of different tribes, and because of this, their history is also diverse and spread over all of Europe and not easy to call decisively. For now, I will let you mull over this because even though the definitions are simple, they are very important. For our book review section, I'd like to review a book by John Haywood called The Historical Atlas of the Celtic World. Let me give you a little synopsis of this book. Through 54 colored maps covering almost 3,000 years and spanning the whole of Europe, this Atlas of the Celts charts their dramatic history from Bronze Age origins to present-day diaspora. Each map is accompanied by an authoritative text and supporting illustrations. Continental Celts maps the Hellestat and Latian cultures in Central Europe, the migrations into Italy, Iberia, Greece, and Anatolia, the fate of the Celtic culture under Roman rule, and the fortunes of the Britons from the Dark Ages to their absorption by France. Beginning with Iron Age Britain and Ireland, Atlantic Celts covers the failure of the Romans to complete the conquest of the islands, the resurgence of Celtic civilization in the Dark Ages, the history of Gaelic Ireland, and the making of Scotland. Modern Celts examines the revival of Celtic identity from the Celtomania of the 18th century through the growth of nationalism and the current state of Celtic culture. Now here's what I think of this book. This is one of the books that I feel most newbies to the history of the Celts should have. The book is full of illustrations and maps that help people who are not very well versed in the history of the Celts and advanced readers alike to chart the history of the Celts. I've read a lot of history books, but what makes this one special to me is that it helps me keep things straight in my mind. The way it is divided definitely makes it easier to find specific time periods, and the maps help one keep the territory straight. The fact that it is up to date also makes it great to have. For our trivia section today, we have facts about Wales. Did you know that according to the 2001 census, over 20% of the population of Wales are classified as fluent in Welsh? Officially, the Welsh and English languages have equal status in Wales, and all signs are bilingual in both Welsh and English. Did you know that Wales' patron saint is Saint David? Saint David is actually a native of the country, but little is known about him. His feast day is on March the 1st. Did you know that Cardiff is the capital of Wales? Cardiff is also the biggest city and county. In 1905, Cardiff became a city and gained a cathedral in 1916. In 1955, Cardiff became capital of Wales, beating the historical town of Carnarvon. Please excuse my pronunciation. Did you know that there are two types of Welsh? The two types are North Walian Welsh and South Walian Welsh. Certain words are changed and have different meanings, so someone who speaks North Walian Welsh would never speak it in South Wales and expect to be understood correctly all the time. Did you know that the Welsh national flag is also known as the Welsh Dragon? The Welsh Dragon, or the Dreg Goch, as it is known in Welsh, is the Welsh national flag. It shows a red dragon and a green and white on a green and white background. Officially recognized as the national flag in 1959, however, the red dragon had been associated with Wales for centuries, and it is claimed to be the oldest national flag still in use today. The leek and the daffodil are also Welsh emblems, and on St. David's Day, you will often see the Welsh wearing them on their collars. And now the Bardic Corner. Our first poem comes from the Celtic Book of Seasonal Meditations and is entitled Silver Birch, the Lady Tree. Before I read the poem, let me first tell you what the book says about it. Silver Birch, the Lady Tree, called Be or Ba, which means shining one. The birch is light and airy, a very feminine tree. Not numbered among the chieftain trees in the Druidic calendar, it was nevertheless considered very important. Because of its silver bark, it was connected with the land of Faerie, and because of its being lightly rooted but pliable, it symbolized resilience and adaptability. Lovers lingered in its groves at Beltane. Witches' broomsticks were traditionally made from it, and its rods were used magically to clear away negative energies. It was associated with purification and with the element of air. It is one of the earliest trees to come into leaf and denotes fresh beginnings and new birth. The poem says, Lady of the woods, Beth, shining one, your silver-coated branches catch the moon, your pliant dancing body plays the sun. Light-hearted lovers linger in your groves, while through your flickering leaves your shining fairy form inspires and purifies. You speak of new beginnings, birth and cleansing. On your boughs the hovering spirits fly, and with your branches sweep the star-spread sky. Our second poem is actually a blessing from To Bless the Space Between Us, a Book of Blessings by John O'Donohue called A New Beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you are ready to emerge. For a long time it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the grey promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered would you always live like this. When the delight, when your courage kindled, and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure, hold nothing back, learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. Thank you for listening to our show, and I hope you have enjoyed all you've heard. If you would like to have your poems featured in our podcast, then please send us an email. You can find the link on the webpage. Also, we welcome your feedback. So until next time, Slanga Foil!